Setting boundaries with a narcissistic parent can be one of the most difficult, yet necessary, steps in creating a healthy, balanced life. Narcissistic parents often have an overwhelming presence in the lives of their children, exerting control, manipulating emotions, and fostering a sense of obligation that can lead to deep-rooted emotional scars. The journey to establishing healthy boundaries with a narcissistic parent is not an easy one, but it's a path toward emotional freedom, self-respect, and a more peaceful life. The first challenge in setting boundaries with a narcissistic parent is recognizing the impact they have on your life. Narcissistic individuals are often charming, charismatic, and adept at convincing others that their needs are more important than anyone else's. For children of narcissistic parents, this means growing up in an environment where your emotions, desires, and individuality were likely overshadowed by your parents' demands for attention and control. This can lead to feelings of guilt, shame, and self-doubt, making it difficult to believe that you're entitled to set boundaries at all. However, recognizing the problem is the first step toward change. Once you understand that your parents' behavior is manipulative or harmful, you can begin to reclaim your personal space. The purpose of setting boundaries is not to punish your parent or provoke conflict. It's to protect your own mental and emotional well-being. It's about carving out space for yourself where you can feel safe, respected, and free from manipulation. One of the hardest aspects of this process is accepting that your narcissistic parent will likely never change. Narcissistic personality disorder is deeply ingrained. People with this condition are often incapable of empathy or self-reflection. They may not understand, or may even flatly reject, your need for boundaries. Instead, they are likely to react with anger, manipulation, or guilt tripping. This makes it crucial to manage your expectations from the beginning. You are not setting boundaries with the goal of changing your parent, but with the aim of protecting yourself. When you begin to set boundaries, start small but be firm. For example, you might decide that you will no longer engage in certain types of conversations with your parent. Perhaps those that involve criticism, belittling, or manipulation. If your parent tries to steer the conversation into this territory, calmly but firmly disengage. You might say something like, "I'm not comfortable discussing this topic," or "I don't want to have this conversation right now." Then, stick to it. Don't allow your parent to bait you back into the conversation, no matter how much they try to provoke you. This type of boundary setting requires a strong sense of self-discipline. Narcissistic parents are experts at finding emotional triggers and using them to pull you back into their control. They might accuse you of being ungrateful, selfish, or disloyal, and this can stir up deep feelings of guilt, especially if you've been conditioned to seek their approval. It's important to remind yourself that their reaction is not a reflection of your worth or your choices. It's a reflection of their inability to handle the idea that they cannot control you. Guilt is one of the narcissistic parents' most powerful tools, and resisting it takes practice. Another key aspect of boundary setting is limiting the amount of time and energy you give to your narcissistic parent. If they are constantly calling, texting, or expecting you to be available at all times, it's okay to step back. You don't have to answer every call or respond to every message immediately. You might even decide to schedule specific times to talk to your parent, rather than allowing them to dictate when they have access to you. For example, you might decide that you'll only talk to them once a week or on certain days. This gives you more control over your time and creates a buffer that can help you manage the emotional toll of interacting with them. You should also be mindful of physical boundaries. If your parent is prone to showing up unannounced at your home, setting a clear boundary around your personal space is crucial. You have the right to decide when and if they are allowed in your space. If necessary, let them know that they need to call before visiting or that you won't be available for drop-ins. If they violate this boundary, don't be afraid to stand firm, even if it means turning them away at the door. It's important to remember that setting boundaries doesn't mean cutting your parent out of your life entirely. Although, in some cases, it might come to that if they continue to violate your limits. The goal of setting boundaries is to create a healthier dynamic, where you can interact with your parent without feeling overwhelmed, manipulated, or disrespected. However, in some cases, the narcissistic parent may be unwilling to respect any boundaries at all. If this happens, it's okay to limit contact or even go no contact if necessary. Your well-being is more important than maintaining a relationship that causes you constant pain and stress. When setting boundaries, clarity and consistency are essential. Narcissistic parents are skilled at exploiting any ambiguity or inconsistency. So it's crucial to be clear about your boundaries and stick to them. Don't feel the need to explain or justify your choices in great detail. A simple, "This is what I need to feel comfortable," is enough. If you give too much explanation, your parent will likely find ways to argue or manipulate the conversation to make you doubt your own decisions. As you establish these boundaries, it's also important to build a support system for yourself. This could include friends, a therapist, or a support group for adult children of narcissistic parents. These people can provide a sounding board, offer advice, and remind you of your worth when your parent's behavior makes you question yourself. Having a support system can also make you feel less isolated in your decision to set boundaries, especially if your parent tries to make you feel like you're the problem. Self-care is another essential part of the boundary setting process. Dealing with a narcissistic parent can be emotionally exhausting, and it's important to take care of yourself. This might mean setting aside time to relax, engaging in activities that bring you joy, or practicing mindfulness and meditation to help manage stress. Taking care of yourself also means giving yourself permission to grieve the relationship you wish you could have had with your parent. It's natural to feel sadness, anger, or even guilt as you realize that your parent may never be able to give you the love and support you deserve. Allow yourself to feel these emotions without judgment. Ultimately, setting boundaries with a narcissistic parent is about reclaiming your own life. It's about acknowledging that you have the right to your own emotional space, and that you don't have to be defined by the demands or manipulations of your parent. It's about learning to say no without guilt and understanding that your worth is not dependent on your parents' approval or validation. The process is often difficult, and it may involve setbacks along the way. But with time, patience, and persistence, you can create a healthier, more balanced relationship with your parent. Or, if necessary, distance yourself in order to protect your own well-being. The most important thing to remember is that you deserve to live a life free from emotional manipulation and control. Setting boundaries with a narcissistic parent is not only an act of self-preservation, but also an act of self-love. It's a declaration that your feelings, needs, and well-being matter, and that you will no longer sacrifice them to meet the demands of someone who cannot see beyond their own needs.